Ow, the snake. It always slithers in the dark, doesn't it? Quiet, patient, hiding in the tall grass where your eyes don't wander. It smiles, it charms. It whispers sweet little lies until you're wrapped up tight, blind to the fangs waiting just beneath the grin. But once the snake is exposed, once the mask is torn away and the scales glisten under the light, you can't pretend anymore. You can't unsee it. You can't go back to the comfort of ignorance, no matter how badly you want to. Once deception is revealed, it cannot be unseen. That's the cruel little trick of truth, isn't it? It doesn't politely knock on your door. It doesn't wait until you're ready. No. It rips the curtains down in the middle of the night, floods the room with light, and forces your eyes open. And once you've seen it, you can't go back to the dark, no matter how much you beg for the comfort of shadows. Deception is soft, it's warm. It lulls you to sleep with sweet little lies that sound like lullabies. But the moment it's torn away, the moment you see the sharp edges hiding beneath the sweetness, your mind will never rest the same again. People crave comfort more than they crave truth. That's why lies are so addictive. They fit neatly into the shape of what you want to believe. They keep your world balanced, make you feel safe, give you the illusion that everything is under control. But once deception cracks, once the mask slips, the spell is broken. And here's the twisted part. You can never rebuild that illusion the same way again. You might try, oh yes, you might convince yourself you can patch it up. Glue it back together, pretend you didn't see what you saw. But deep down, the image is stained. The lie is spoiled, and no matter how hard you try, your mind whispers, you know the truth now. That whisper never stops. It creeps in when you try to rest. It claws at you when you try to smile. It gnaws at the back of your thoughts when you try to move on as if nothing happened. That's the punishment and the gift of seeing deception for what it is. You don't get to hide in innocence anymore. Your eyes are scarred open, and you'll never be blind again. You see it in people all the time. They learn the truth about someone, about something, about themselves, and for a moment they're shattered. They tell themselves they wish they never found out that ignorance was better. But here's the sick joke. Ignorance was never real. It was just a blanket pulled over the fire. The flames were always there, burning, waiting. Knowing the truth doesn't create the danger. it just exposes it. And once it's exposed, the danger becomes real in a way you can't ignore anymore. That's why the truth cuts so deep. Not because it hurts you with something new, but because it takes away the comfort of pretending. You can't unsee the scales once the snake is in the light. You can't unhear the hiss once it's left its throat. You can't unfeel the venom once it's been in your blood. The lie might have let you sleep at night, but the truth keeps you awake, wide-eyed, staring into the dark with a heart that refuses to calm. And yet, that's where the power lies. Deception feeds on blindness, but truth forces you to sharpen. Once you see, you can't go back to stumbling in the dark. You start moving differently. You start watching differently. You start living differently. Because you know now. And knowledge, once revealed, is a weight you can't put down. But it's also a weapon you didn't have before. Of course. Most people don't want that weapon. They want the softness, the lies, the comfort. They want to slip back into sleep, even though their eyes are wide open. They pretend, they fake, they deny, but it never works. Once the curtain has been pulled, once the illusion has shattered, it haunts them. The truth doesn't leave. It stalks them in the quiet moments. It echoes in their laughter. It shows itself in every crack of their forced smiles. They can't go back, no matter how desperately they try. That's the curse of seeing deception. But it's also the gift. Because once you've seen, you're no longer a puppet to the same tricks. Once you've recognized the snake in the grass, you don't step blindly into its coils again. Your eyes may ache from the light, but at least you're not stumbling in the dark anymore. And maybe, just maybe, that's the point. The truth doesn't free you by making life easier. It frees you by ripping the chains of illusion off your wrists and showing you exactly what's been holding you prisoner all along. The snake never changes, only hides. That's the thing about predators. They don't transform. They don't wake up one morning and decide to be harmless. They simply get better at waiting. They learn to slither under the leaves. We blend into the dirt, coil themselves in silence until you forget they were ever there. People like to convince themselves that time changes things, that maybe the danger has passed, that maybe the venom has dried up. But venom doesn't dry up. It only waits for the right skin to pierce. The snake doesn't become less of a snake because you close your eyes It simply becomes harder to see. That's the deception of comfort. You think because the hiss has stopped, because the fangs aren't flashing right in front of you, that maybe the threat is gone. But silence is not safety, it's camouflage. It's the predator's favorite mask. You let your guard down, you breathe easier. You start to believe that the darkness you once saw was just your imagination. And that's when it strikes. Not because it has changed, but because you did. You stopped watching. You stopped believing in its nature. You convinced yourself danger can be tamed by time. People fall for this trick every day. They look at someone who once betrayed them, once hurt them, once exposed their true nature, and they think, if maybe they're different now, they think apologies mean transformation. They think distance means purification. They think a smile covers up the fangs. But the core never changes. A snake may shed its skin, but it sheds it to grow sharper, stronger, deadlier. The core of what it is never dissolves. You can't teach venom to turn into honey. You can't polish scales into silk. The nature of the beast stays the same. And isn't it fascinating how people choose blindness? They'd rather believe in change, where there is none, than face the harsh reality that some things, some people, some creatures will always be exactly what they are. It's easier to wrap yourself in the fantasy that monsters can turn into protectors, that liars can turn into truth tellers, that snakes can turn into something else entirely. But the truth doesn't bend to fantasies. A snake hides not to become something better, but to wait for the perfect moment to strike. That's why exposure matters. Once you've seen the snake for what it is, you must remember it. Because if you forget, if you convince yourself it's safe, you're not walking away. You're walking back into its coils. And once you step back in, it won't hesitate. It doesn't care about your hope, your belief, your forgiveness. It only cares about survival, about instinct, about the moment it sinks its fangs in again. The most dangerous lie you can tell yourself is that something venomous has changed because you want it to. The truth is not shaped by your wishes. The snake doesn't ask for your permission to be what it is. It doesn't consult your heart before it strikes. It follows only its nature. And its nature is to destroy the foolish who forget what they've already seen. And yet, people keep forgetting. They keep reaching back, keep convincing themselves it will be different this time. Keep believing in the fairy tale that monsters can be tamed. That's why so many end up bitten again and again. Not because the snake fooled them, but because they fooled themselves. They chose the comfort of illusion over the discomfort of truth. They chose to pretend the scales had turned to feathers, that the hiss had turned to a lullaby, that the fangs had dulled with time. But the moment they leaned in close, the strike reminded them of reality. The snake never changes. That is its curse and its consistency. And once you know that, once you truly accept it, you stop wasting your breath on hoping for transformation. You stop giving second chances to something that was never meant to be trusted in the first place. You stop leaning close enough to be bitten. You stop mistaking silence for peace and shadows for safety. Because once you understand the truth, you see the snake not as a puzzle to be solved, but as a danger to be avoided. And knowing that is the only thing that keeps you alive when the grass rustles again. Familiarity is the trap that lures you back. That's the cruel part of human nature. You're drawn to what you know. Even if what you know is poison, it doesn't matter how sharp the bite was, how deep the scar runs, how vividly you remember the pain. The moment time dulls the edge of memory, your mind whispers, maybe it won't be so bad this time. That's the trick, isn't it? Not the snake itself, but the comfort of routine, the pull of something that feels safe only because it's familiar. We confuse recognition with trust, and in that confusion, we walk willingly into the same jaws that tore us apart before. It's strange how people can crave the very thing that broke them. You'd think once you've seen the venom, once you've tasted the betrayal, you'd run as far as possible and never look back. But no, the mind has this twisted way of dressing the past in softer colors, painting over the darkness with nostalgia, tricking you into thinking maybe you overreacted. Maybe it wasn't as deadly as you remember. Memory is a poor judge. It edits the blood, blurs the pain, and leaves you only with the illusion of warmth. And so you walk back, not because the snake changed, but because you tricked yourself into forgetting how cold its fangs truly felt. That's the thing about traps. They don't work unless you step into them willingly. And familiarity is the perfect bait. It makes you feel safe in the unsafe, comfortable in the dangerous. You think to yourself, I know this place. I know this person. I know this game. And because you've seen it before, you assume you can handle it this time. But traps don't need to surprise you to destroy you. They just need you to believe you're stronger than the last time you were caught. Familiarity blinds you to the fact that nothing has changed. You're walking into the same design, the same coils, the same venom, just wrapped in the illusion of comfort. People love to say they've learned their lesson, but most don't. They mistake awareness for growth. They believe that because they can name the snake, because they remember the last bite, they're immune to it now. But knowing the fire burns doesn't stop you from reaching out when you crave its warmth. Familiarity whispers, just one more time, maybe it'll be different. Maybe this time it won't hurt. And so the cycle repeats. Bite after bite, scar after scar, until the body is covered in reminders of the lesson that was never truly learned. And isn't it funny how the heart betrays the mind? Your mind screams, "Stay away," but your heart aches for the rhythm it remembers. It craves the sound, the feeling, the pattern, even when it knows the ending will always be the same. Familiarity is seductive. It doesn't promise happiness, it promises predictability. And people will choose the predictable pain over the unpredictable unknown. They'd rather return to what broke them than risk stepping into something unfamiliar that might not hurt at all. That's the madness of it. Comfort in destruction, safety in poison, belonging in the very place that never wanted them safe to begin with. But that's the truth you can't escape. Familiarity is not safety. It's the rope that ties you to your own destruction. It's the smile of the same snake that bit you before, daring you to forget. It's the whisper in the back of your mind saying, "This is who you are. This is where you belong. Don't walk away." And if you listen to it, if you let that whisper guide your steps, you don't just risk being bitten again, you guarantee it. Because the snake doesn't need to chase you when it knows you'll come back on your own. The grass doesn't change, the coils don't loosen, the venom doesn't weaken. Only your memory softens. And that's why the trap works, because you allow it to. Because you let the comfort of what's known pull you back into the same destruction you once escaped. And that is the cruelest part of all. Not that the snake waits for you, but that you go crawling back to it with your eyes wide open, convincing yourself that maybe this time will be different, Even though you already know exactly how it ends in chaos, silence becomes strategy, not fear. Most people don't understand that. They think silence means weakness, submission, a lack of courage. They mistake noise for power, shouting for strength, words for weapons. But in middle of chaos, noise drowns itself out. Words lose their meaning, and the loudest ones are often the most exposed. Silence, on the other hand, slips through the cracks unnoticed. It watches, it waits, it studies every move, while everyone else is too busy screaming to see what's really happening. Silence doesn't tremble in the storm. It listens to it, memorizes its rhythm, and learns where to step without getting struck. Chaos feeds on reaction. It wants you loud, panicked, careless. It wants you to lash out, to fight blindly, to show your cards in a desperate attempt to survive. That's when it devours you, when you're too noisy to notice the trap, too emotional to see the snare tightening around your ankles. But silence refuses to feed chaos. Silence starves it. Look around you. Can you feel it? That strange little tension crawling under your skin, whispering in your ear, reminding you that today isn't just another day. No, today carries weight. Today drags a heavy suitcase of secrets, of truths that have been hiding in the shadows for far too long. You can hear it, can't you? That ticking sound inside your chest, faster, louder, like it knows something you don't want to admit. Today is not ordinary. No, it's far from it. You wake up thinking it's just another rotation of this little spinning rock, the same dull clockwork of hours and minutes, the same tired smiles people plaster across their faces like cheap masks from a carnival. But deep down, you know, something feels different. It's in the air, like smoke after a fire, like laughter echoing in an empty room. There's a pulse to it, a rhythm that doesn't belong to yesterday or tomorrow. It belongs right here, right now. And it's telling you one thing: the masks are about to fall. See, people love their masks. Oh, they cling to them, polish them, make sure they shine just enough to fool the world. The polite nod, the forced grin, the eyes that never tell the real story. It's all theater, all performance. Everyone walks around as if they've got it together, as if nothing eats at them in the dead of night, as if their hearts don't beat with a kind of desperation they're too afraid to confess. And you've been part of it too, haven't you? Wearing your own disguise, trying to convince yourself that maybe the illusion is safer than the truth. But today, oh today, the stage lights are too bright. The mask can't hold against the heat. Cracks begin to show, little fractures running through the paint, and the world finally gets to see what's been hiding underneath. And what's underneath? The raw face of reality, the one no one wants to show. Because it's scared, it's messy, it's honest. That's the one thing people can't stomach: honesty. They'd rather drown in lies than breathe in truth, because truth burns the throat going down. You feel it in your own chest, don't you? That pounding rhythm, faster than usual, almost mocking you. It's not fear, not really, it's anticipation. A kind of thrill that comes when you're standing on the edge, toes hanging over the drop, and you know there's no stepping back. Because once the mask slips, once the real face is revealed, the game changes forever. You can't unsee what you've seen. You can't pretend it never existed. That's why today is not ordinary. It's a moment of unveiling. And once the curtain rises, there's no closing it again. Look around. Do you see them? The ones clinging tighter than ever to their little disguises, pretending the cracks aren't spreading. They laugh too loud, speak too fast, act as if everything is perfectly normal. But it isn't. The truth is pressing against the walls, rattling the doors, scratching to get out. And when it finally does, it won't whisper. It will roar. It will tear through the silence, shatter the fragile little illusions, and leave everyone exposed under a merciless light. That's what makes today so delicious, so electric. It's the day pretense dies. The irony is, most people think they want freedom. They talk about authenticity, about being real, but they're terrified of what that actually means. Being real means showing the scars, admitting the fears, confessing the thoughts you keep chained in the basement of your mind. And today, the chains aren't strong enough anymore. The basement door creaks open, and the monsters you've been hiding finally stretch their claws. And strangely, it doesn't feel like death. It feels like life. Because the mask was never protecting you. It was suffocating you, choking the breath out of your lungs while convincing you it was air. So here we are, standing in this moment, where the ordinary burns away, and the extraordinary claws its way through the ashes. Today is not ordinary, because the illusion is ending. The lies are crumbling. The masks are falling. And the world is about to see what's been buried in the shadows all along, trembling, waiting, desperate to be seen. Fear, that delicious little parasite that slithers into your bones, whispers in your ears, and convinces you that you're smaller than you really are. People think fear is the enemy, but it isn't. No, it's a messenger. Fear is nothing but the shadow of truth waiting to be revealed. It's the trembling before the scream, the silence before the storm, the tightness in your chest when you're standing too close to something real. And oh, how people run from it. They hide, they build walls, they pretend they're fearless. But if you look closely, if you really listen, you'll see it's always there, humming underneath every smile, every laugh, every carefully rehearsed line. You see, fear doesn't come from the unknown. No, that's the funny part. The unknown is exciting, thrilling, a playground for the imagination. Fear comes from the known, the thing you already understand, but refuse to admit. It's the truth lurking in the back of your mind, the one you've locked away, hoping it never sees the light. Fear is the reminder that you can't keep a truth in a cage forever, because the truth grows restless. It scratches, it rattles the bars, and fear is the sound of those chains breaking. People love to decorate their lives with lies, tiny little ornaments that sparkle just enough to distract them. They say, "I'm fine," when they're broken. They say, "I'm strong," when they're on their knees inside. They say, "I know who I am," when deep down they're terrified of their own reflection. That's where fear slithers in, right between the cracks of those lies. It waits there, patient, grinning, because it knows one day the truth will burst through. And when it does, those decorations won't matter anymore. Imagine a room full of mirrors. Each one shows you a version of yourself, happy, confident, unshaken. But in the corner of your eye, you catch something else, a flicker, a distortion, a reflection that doesn't match the others. You look again, and it's gone. But you know you saw it. That flicker is fear, not because it's dangerous, but because it shows you something real. And reality, well, reality makes people squirm. Fear is the weight on your chest. When you're about to speak the truth you've swallowed for years. Fear is the shaking in your hands before you walk into a room where you can't fake anymore. Fear is the silence that falls when you realize everyone can finally see who you really are. But here's the twist. It's not the truth that hurts. It's the anticipation. It's the waiting. It's the endless game of hiding, pretending, performing. That's what breaks people, not the truth itself. The truth is freedom. Fear is just the toll you pay on the way there. And oh, how beautiful that toll is. Think about it. Your heart pounds, your breath stumbles, your skin prickles. That's not weakness. That's life reminding you you're alive. Fear is proof that something inside you is about to change, about to be born, about to rip its way out of the prison you built for it. Fear is not your enemy. It's your alarm clock. It shakes you awake from the dream of safety, from the illusion of control, from the comfort of your lies. People spend their whole lives running from fear, building thicker masks, stronger cages, louder distractions. But no matter how far they run, fear always follows, because truth always follows. You can't outrun yourself. You can't outrun the part of you that knows what you've been avoiding. You can drown it in noise, in excuses, in fake smiles. But when the night comes, when the world gets quiet, there it is, breathing down your neck, reminding you of what you refuse to face. And here's the secret. They think fear is trying to destroy them, but it isn't. Fear is trying to guide them. It's pointing with a crooked little finger, saying, "Look there. That's the truth you've been hiding. That's the place you need to go." But most people slam the door, lock it tight, and pray the knocking stops. They don't realize the knocking will never stop, because the truth doesn't die. It waits. It grows louder. And fear makes sure you hear it, the weight you carry. Oh, you feel it, don't you? Pressing down on your shoulders, squeezing your lungs, dragging your spine to the ground. Everyone has it. Everyone drags it around like a ball and chain. Some call it guilt. Others call it regret. Some dress it up and name it responsibility. But no matter the name, it's heavy. It whispers in your ear when the lights go out. It keeps you awake at night, tossing, turning, sweating under the blankets. And you hate it, don't you? You curse it, you wish it gone. You dream of being light, free, untouchable. But here's the cruel little joke. The weight you carry becomes power when exposed. See, the world teaches you to bury it, push it down, pretend it doesn't exist. Smile, they say. Move on. They tell you to put on the mask. Sweep the mess under the rug and never let anyone see how much it hurts. But the truth has a nasty habit of bleeding through. The more you bury it, the more it rots, and the stink of it seeps into everything you touch. You think you're hiding it, but the weight shows. It shows in your eyes, in your voice, in the way you flinch when certain words are spoken. You can't hide it forever. And oh, isn't that delicious? The very thing you think is killing you. It's the thing that makes you stronger, because weight is resistance, and resistance builds strength. The chains you drag, the burdens you curse, they carve you into something sharper, harder, more unbreakable than before. But only if you stop running. Only if you stop lying to yourself about what you're carrying. Only if you rip off the mask and admit, yes, this is mine, this pain, this scar, this weight. The moment you own it, it bends, it shifts. It doesn't crush you anymore. It fuels you. But people don't want to believe that, do they? They want the fairy tale, the sweet little bedtime story that one day, if they're lucky, all the weight will vanish and they'll wake up clean, light, pure. That day never comes. The weight doesn't vanish. It transforms. And that transformation is only possible when you drag it into the light, when you expose it for what it is. That's when the chains turn into armor. The scars turn into stories, and the cracks become the very lines that make you human. Think about it. Why do you admire someone who's been through hell? Why do you lean in when they speak, hang on to every word? Feel something stir in your chest. It's not because they're perfect. It's because their weight is visible. You can see it in their eyes, in the way they move, in the way their voice doesn't tremble when they talk about pain. They didn't run from it. They carried it, they exposed it, and it became power. That's the secret no one tells you. Your weight isn't weakness. It's proof you've lived. The funny thing is, the moment you expose it, people can't use it against you anymore. As long as it's hidden, it's leverage. A secret can be twisted, manipulated, turned into a dagger against your throat. But when you speak it, when you let the world see it, suddenly the dagger vanishes. No one can hurt you with what you've already embraced. The weight no longer drags you, it lifts you. Because you've turned it into something untouchable. That's real freedom. But oh, people are terrified of that step. They'd rather suffocate under the silence than breathe in the chaos of truth. They polish their masks until they shine so bright, hoping no one notices the trembling underneath. And yet, every mask slips eventually. Every lie cracks. And when it does, the weight comes pouring out. Some crumble under it. Others rise with it. The difference. Choice. The choice to expose it on your own terms before the world rips it from you. The choice to say, "This is my weight, and it is not my prison. It is my power." Because when the world sees your weight, it doesn't laugh, it listens. When the world sees your scars, it doesn't mock, it remembers. And when the world sees that you've carried what should have broken you and turned it into strength, oh, that's when you stop being invisible. That's when you become undeniable. That's when the very thing that once threatened to crush you becomes the fire in your eyes, the steel in your spine, the voice that no one can silence chaos. The word alone makes people twitch. They think it means destruction, fire, blood, everything broken and gone. They imagine chaos as the end of the story, the curtain falling, the ashes left behind after the flames. But that's just the picture they paint to keep themselves calm, to keep order clutched tight in their trembling little hands. The truth. Chaos is not the end. It's the beginning of clarity. Chaos doesn't destroy you. It strips you. It rips away the illusions, the masks, the rules you thought mattered. It tears down the walls you built to feel safe. And it leaves you naked with nothing but the truth staring back at you. And in that raw, terrifying place, you finally see clearly. Order is the lie. It's the cage. It's the neat little lines and boxes where everything has a place and everyone pretends to know what they're doing. Order is the polite conversation, the fake smile, the carefully practiced performance that makes the world look stable. But it isn't. Beneath the order, there's always a storm, always cracks, always a restless energy waiting to break free. Chaos is the moment the storm bursts through. And people panic because they think it's the end. No, it's not the end. It's the truth taking the stage. You know that moment when your life falls apart, when the job vanishes, the relationship shatters, the future you painted so carefully goes up in smoke. That's chaos. It feels like death. It feels like the universe has turned on you, like everything you've built is crumbling. But look closer. Look at yourself in that moment. For the first time, you stop pretending. For the first time, the masks don't matter anymore. For the first time, you're forced to face who you are without the props. without the script. And what happens then? Clarity. Real clarity. The kind you could never find while you were busy trying to hold everything together. Chaos is pure honesty. It doesn't care about your plans, your excuses, your lies.